I tell you, I did one recently, and I actually went through the whole over hour and a half with this guy, and I'd actually forgotten to press record. It was very when it was over, and it was good. It was one of the best ones I'd ever done. And it was just nothing gone. I had to tell him like I forgot to press record. It was quite stupid.
That's what I did. It was about a week or two. No, about 2 weeks ago. I was on Telegram and I was going to do an AMA. So I did that and went live with it. There's only maybe just one other person on there listening. And when I started up, I thought that it was recording automatically. Turns out, after about 30 minutes worth of recording, it just or not recording, it just I lost that completely. So I was extremely upset about that.
Yeah, I think you told me about that. But what did the other person not say something? Didn't they just sat there like, no? Okay.
I don't think they knew that I wasn't recording. I mean, I was going live, but I wasn't exactly recording my live session at the same time.
Oh, I see. So they could hear you, but it wasn't recording. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's not quite as bad as completely losing everything that was said.
The whole file though, so
yeah.
I was able to retrieve that. So
well, that one person got a one-time only live show, and that's better than nobody at all, I guess.
True.
But yeah. So let's get to the topic at hand, which is most salacious and outrageous, which is something you came up with, and it's going to be a great title. Everyone knows I love titles like this because it'll get lots of hits just for the title alone. Sex and spiritual maturity, even though we are sort of talking about that, but also other things. But we'll use that as the title. And it's based on something you said to me when I was just casually talking to you. As tends to happen with you, you just suddenly blurted out something that was just outrageous and amazing. So I thought, okay, that's good enough. We'll just do a show on that, and I'll just ask you, what are you talking about? Because I don't really know. So I'll read out the first bit here, and you can say you can try to explain to me what you were talking about. Think of the energy spectrum. So whatever we were talking about, I don't even know. I just put in from the paragraph. Anyways, think of the energy spectrum, he said. The lower level, the more hellish entities are denser vibrationally. So that alone I could ask you about. Wait, what do you mean even just by that? Like what denser vibrationally? Just tell me. Yeah.
The best way to compare it is to people. So people who are lower IQ, for instance, they have a certain intellectual capacity that they can't really go beyond before they just stare at you, like you're an alien. So
right.
It's like that, but it's not just in regards to intelligence. It's when it's in entities, well, whether human or not, their own frequency. So when they're set at a lower frequency, they are much more engaged with their animalistic side of themselves. So when they
a denser vibration, you would say, as in their
to be a lot more negative, a lot oftentimes lower IQ, but not always. But just it's
so low IQ people are relational to hellish entities. Is that what we? Well, I mean, I guess
basically so. And
okay, good.
Sometimes people, they can even, they will have a certain kind of aura about them that is darkened, and a dark aura doesn't necessarily determine that they're lower in frequency. Sometimes it can mean just that there's a curse on them, or that there's some that their mind is a bit clouded. Okay. But as far as a really just naturally dark frequency that they exude, it's your intuition will kind of tell you it will liken them to some kind of animal, or to some kind of idea, or to some kind of thing that that you that you will associate them with. So sometimes a certain image will come to mind, or a certain word will come to mind, and whenever you think about them, that's the main thing that you think of. So um, that that would be an indicator of a lower density form in terms of, you know, if the images, if the thoughts that come to your mind are not very good, they're not, they're very stagnating, especially versus someone who is of a higher frequency. They
So,
are lighter, freer. They have a much more of a childlike
okay, so
mindset.
childlike. It's you associate it with frequency. What tradition are you getting this from? Can I ask, or is it from various ones?
This is just my own thing, and
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah.
also from various things I have heard from other people that just
Okay.
it clicks into my own
Right.
perception
Right.
of reality.
Okay. So denser is lower to do with chthonic, or shall we say, as you said, hellish entities, and lighter. And as you say in the next line, the high level, more divine entities are much lighter. So it's lighter, and the vibration is less dense, which is more. You think they're vibrating faster, or how would it mean vibrationally? Light vibration. They're just less of a vibration. So you is that what
Yes,
it?
a faster a faster vibration,
Yeah.
but also especially a freer vibration. So it's just freer, it's lighter, it's a lot more healthy, I guess. Whereas a lower vibration, it's very dark, it's stagnating, and
Right, right.
you know,
Well, there is a truth we have to admit to say what you say to low IQ. Let's say, especially in adults, not so much. Like for instance, I'm thinking of a story recently here. If someone I know knows some people, let's say, and they live in they're sort of a how can I say this without being controversial? Let's say a working class community, which here means that they haven't worked for generations. Let's say, so everything that implies. So one guy goes to another guy's house who's selling cocaine. The guy's not there, and this is a true story, happened recently. The guy punches out his mother, knocks her out in the front garden, and the guy comes home and finds his mother knocked out, and him and his friends go to the other guy's house, and they drive through the front of the house, and now there's like the neighborhood is in a feud of like people trying to kill each other over this thing, and that's not untypical of, let's say, a low IQ area that I know here personally, because you feel great sympathy for people with low IQ as well. You think, oh, these poor fools, like, but there is a darkness and impulsivity associated with that. So you could be right in that association, let's say.
yeah,
Just to give you an example.
yeah, it very much causes a more clouded mind to where you are, like I said, much more impulsive and not really truly aware of others, feelings, others' existence. You just completely concentrate on your own existence and can't really think or feel, past your own self.
Right. So would you think
So,
those people are cursed? Or would you say they're cursed in a way?
um,
Was that too much?
I don't think cursed, because cursed would indicate that there is an external presence that is influencing them.
Right.
Versus if they're just naturally like that, they might still have a curse against them, though, but it's just it's how they radiate.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
All right. Yeah, go on.
oh, I was just gonna say, it's like how when someone can walk into a room and they can change the whole atmosphere,
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
it's a sort of kind of tight, super stagnating energy that really makes you feel uneasy. That is the kind of denser vibration that I'm talking about, and
Right. Okay.
why it's more associated with hellish entities.
There's also people that walk into a room and sparkle and are very charming. Then they're actually evil, frauds. Though
True.
often I think a very astute person can recognize that in that kind of used car salesman way. That fucking dog sounds like it's like I don't know what. I was gonna say a werewolf, like a retarded werewolf. But So yeah, I lost my train of thought there. Here we'll move on to because we got a whole paragraph, 2 paragraphs of stuff of amazing sentences here to get to
Thanks.
the bottom of here. So you said okay, the more divine entities are much lighter. This is why Thor in Norse lore cannot cross the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost. Because he was too dense. Because he was too dense, too heavy. So I didn't know this. Is this part of? I've never even heard this part.
Yeah, I read this. I believe it was in Donald A. Mackenzie's book from 1912. It's called
I have that.
Legends. It's also called Teutonic
Yeah.
Myths and Legends.
Yeah, I have that.
Several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was in. I'm pretty sure it was in that book that I read it. That the reason why Thor couldn't cross the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost was because he was too heavy. So he and Loki, they had to take the longer route down to Jotunheim to go and slay the giants there, versus very easily crossing the Rainbow Bridge. And that is because the reason why his own frequency was too heavy for passage onto the Rainbow Bridge was because even though he was half god, he is the son of Odin. His mother is a giantess, Jot. She is the earth goddess, the earth giantess. So, and that's also where he gets his red hair from. It's also said, too, that I believe it was Steve Quayle. He was talking about giants one time, and he had said that giants, that they seem to have red hair. And then automatically my mind went to Thor. But also, my own impression of Thor is that he definitely has a darker, denser energy about him. Yes, this is very powerful. It's very mighty. It's very strong and determined. But it is. It's kind of, you gotta be careful, I suppose.
Yeah, he doesn't show like if if people don't behave the way they're supposed to around him, he'll like strike out. He'll like shows no mercy. Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
And the thing is, when communicating with gods, the more that you communicate with a god, the more they influence you. So the more traits you will begin to develop that are like them. So someone is very much dedicated to Thor, then they will start to adopt more of his traits. So they'll start to become very power hungry, and really lose themselves and forget intuition. Forget well, I guess not intuition, but forget about love, and just be so solely focused on power.
Right.
Um,
And okay, yeah. Sorry, I must just add here. I must add, since I just saw, I happened just by providence to be looking up over my poster of Thor here, Jan Michael Thor, the Canadian heavy metal singer. Look at him in his glory. Ah, yes. Examine the power. Sorry, I had to throw that in because I was looking at him as you were talking about Thor. I was like, ah, yes, power.
Can you just stop this just for a moment?
Yeah.
I'm getting a very important phone call right now.
No problem. Yeah.
Can we resume this in just a few minutes?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, anything you want.
Yeah, because it is something that I definitely have to answer.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
No, it doesn't matter. Don't worry. Okay. So it's just you and me. Just you and me. Maybe I'll play some drums, although it's late here. On a kid's drum kit. It's going to sound terrible. Hang on. It was even worse than I thought it would be. what else can I do? No, that's it, really. Oh, I know what I can do. I can read to you from the best book in the world, The Divine Pymander of Hermes Trismegistus. Sorry, I should say Notes on the Divine Pymander by The Shrine of Wisdom. My friend gave me this. It's probably the best book. I can open this book anywhere to any page and read to you, and you will be amazed. Let me do just that thing. Hold on. Let's see. I'll start from like the chapter beginning at least. So it appears to make sense. Although it's only so. Okay, here we go. The first head, the theological. In the previous section, the general nature and interrelations of the three heads of the Trismegistic writings were outlined. Okay, she's back. Never mind. I decided to keep it rolling and do a few things there. So you're back. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. All right. Okay, good. So Thor. So Thor is dense. Thor is dense because has a bit of that underworld chaos.
Yeah, he is half giant and
Half
he is half god.
Right.
So yeah, he has the density of the giant, but also still the lightness of a god.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and you also said because he's half of this denser, low level mindset. Because he's hold on, sorry, let me read this. He's too heavy for Bifrost because he's half giant. Because he's half of this denser, low level mindset to truly grasp the idea of the divine. So you're saying that Thor does not truly grasp the idea of the divine, almost that he's not even fully a full-fledged god. Is that what you would say?
Exactly. Because in Vedic lore, you have the goddess Thirdananda. She is the rainbow goddess. Her skin is it is all rainbow.
Right.
But it's kind of a sort of metallic shine to it as well. But she the name Thirdananda, it means eternal or pure happiness. So
Right.
that is who she is, the embodiment of eternal happiness. And so the best way to really describe her is the silver lining to something. She is she is hope. She is the higher consciousness, like that. And so this is just something that I've been recently thinking about, is how the rainbow spectrum is moving up from one current mindset, one current perception to a higher one by seeing the silver lining to a given situation or to really anything. Having that stance of, okay, everything is horrible, but I will still live, but I still survive. That kind of mindset, and still, it's not one of just power though. It's one of love. It's one of light, of understanding, because that is what light is. Light is information, and it is understanding.
And it is the rainbow. White light is the rainbow. It is all in there. Somehow it makes white. When in like if you paint it, it makes black, or gray.
Exactly. So this is why I say that Thor, for instance, that he's not able to really gain that understanding because he's so consumed with raw physical, might, power, versus thinking about things from a greater perspective and seeing the silver lining to something. He basically he's even also described as a sort of brute of the Asir gods. He doesn't really think about things all the way through first. He just does it, and then lets the consequences come about that.
Yeah.
And
which is great.
very easily and everything.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why that is what it means that his frequency is too dense to cross up or down the Rainbow Bridge. He has to go through the hard work and the experience and learn things the rough way by taking the long path from Asgard to to Jotunheim or to Midgard or back all the way up to Asgard. So
Right. Okay. So you would associate Thor a little bit more with, say, a demi-deity like Hercules, even if you were to associate him with the Greek, would you? Or what would you?
something like that, I suppose. But he's not human either. Hercules, yeah, his father was Zeus. His mother, I can't remember who his mother was. Isn't she human?
Yeah. She was human. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember either.
So,
I should know
so
this.
with that, I would say that Hercules, he would have a slightly different kind of frequency. It would still be lower than that of a pure god, but it's in a different way because the human frequency is not necessarily super dense, whereas a giant's is very dense. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. Okay. So this brings us to the really scandalous part of what you said, which is that, and this is best seen in how people talk about and understand sex. There is a difference in how people treat it. When I talk about it, most people will fall right into the lust aspect and fail to see the grander meaning of what I'm talking about. So, what do you mean? What do you mean?
basically the same thing that I just said about why Thor is unable to cross the Rainbow Bridge is because it's that lack of understanding. Because like I said, he's more consumed with he's more concerned with what he can do right in the here and now. He's
All
not
right.
the type to go and ask questions and try to devise a plan. That's why he has Loki right there next to him to help him, uh, you know, to basically get him out of trouble because Thor he just he's a brute who just walks into a room and just starts just slaying
Yes.
all the giants and you know and along with that when you translate this over into sexuality, it's just like that. It's your primary focus is not that of true love. It's not that of true, genuine caring about
Yeah.
somebody and thinking
Right.
about things long term like that. That's why I say, it's that kind of denser energy is more associated with lust, which is more of the Asuric energy. Asuric as in the Vedic Asuras. These these sort of hellish gods, I should say.
Okay. The Asuras are the Asuric ones you were saying. I didn't get to that yet because that's how you finished. I'll say everything you said. So you said the last aspect of fealty with the grander meaning of what I'm talking about. That's the deadly Asuric, you said. And this is where I had no idea what you're talking about. The Devic is more concerned with the greater spiritual significance. So the Asuric, what are the Asuric? What are the Asuric? You began to say there.
Well, I don't know everything about them though, but I know that
Okay.
the Asuras they are highly intelligent, and they dwell in the lower realms. So they, it's also the same kind of um, entities I would say as a Norse lore. The Svata Alfar, or is the beings of the realm Svata Alfheim, which is the realm of the dark elves,
Right. Okay.
the gnomes, the dwarves, etc.
Mhm.
So, and the gnomes and dwarves, they're very much known for their highly advanced technologies, but
Mhm.
they're not really known for their kindness, for their love and everything. They can be pretty they can be pretty vicious. Same with
Yeah.
the Asuras. They can be pretty vicious. It really depends. Uh, uh, I I think they take on more of a humanoid form. Like they can still have somewhat animal like um, forms, but still they are humanoid. Whereas the what are they called? The Rakshasas, they are just completely monstrous and grotesque and just uh, cannibalistic and
Right. Right.
eating eating people, eating anything that they encounter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sort. But the Asuras, like I said, they're very technologically advanced, but they
Yeah. You were
are.
saying, yeah, that's what you said. Or at one point later on, you did clarify. I don't have it here in the notes, but you said something. They didn't sound like they were all bad. Anyways, they were sort of like Thor. They were that force. That force. You mean that is
Yeah, because something like that, they can be very tricky, and
true.
um, they, they they are the lower, denser frequencies, and giants are also included in in this uh, in this label of asuras. Um, there are different kinds of giants too. There are fire giants, there are ice giants. There are various others too, but
Right. Okay.
they are of lower density. They are, kind of like Thor. They're more concerned with raw power, with
Right.
their own animalistic survival, and with very lustful sex. So,
Right.
um,
Well, you
yes,
don't like so. Okay. So like we are. There's it's in terms of when you said there is a difference with the way I talk about it. So you've when what were you referencing in terms of what you were talking about? You made a video maybe about something to do with sex and people like harangued you. Is that what you
um,
mean? Or
well, I have made several videos. I have written quite a bit um, about sex, or even it's more so relating to sex. So it's kind of tongue in cheek um, symbolism and
right,
phrases. But yes, I have encountered comments, messages, etc., of people taking it people taking it the wrong way, which which I expected this,
mhm,
but the thing is, the reason why I still continue to do that, one is because there is a huge importance with it. It beautifies, and it puts a lot more value into what sex is versus just completely degrading it. And two,
right, right,
because when when one starts, if one can translate a really good philosophical idea, a really good spiritual idea, and make it and give it a sort of very sexy aesthetic shine to it, it's going to
right,
be much more receptive and digestible to the normal audience. So
right.
in this way, the erotic the erotic creates a fertile ground to plant seeds in, and that fertile
Yeah,
ground is the mind. So this
yeah,
is why
yeah,
I, I do. This is why I say what I say. And
right.
yes,
Yeah, you said something. Yeah, you said the erotic is fertile ground, or I think you said at one point it is a sort of a source point of creativity as well. I think you said. Could be wrong. I thought you said that also before, but yeah, so that makes sense. So you were saying, you were implying, you were talking about sex in one of your videos or whatever you were doing it, and you meant to imply it as in reference to the higher idea of sex, which would be would more to do with love than lust. Is that fair to say?
yes,
Yes.
just true love and the great metaphysical aspect of it. It's not just the very mundane animalistic sense. It is the marriage of two different polarities of the feminine and the masculine, of darkness, of light, of good and evil, and all these different things.
Yeah.
They're all interconnected.
Yeah.
So in the that's really, this whole universe that we live in, it is a polarized universe. So, in some ways, in some capacity, there's always a creation and a destruction. There's always, you know, life and death, and then rebirth, and
Yeah.
that is our reality.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. But there's a bit of a distinction, say, between lust and love, but then you kind of, they both are necessary and both feed into each other at the same time. Let's say, you have
Yes.
the Asuric is part of life as well. You can be more, to be so more wholly Asuric would be just to take lust and sex where you wanted and not get involved in love, which would be, I suppose, a true Asuric person would see it as weakeningly, a weakening attachment, probably, or something like that, unnecessary to a totally
Yes.
power-seeking self, right? That would be the distinction, and they would be denser, but not as wholly dense as a purely evil,
Yeah,
lower hellish.
the different levels and variations of it, though, you know, according to each and every unique personality. But also, too, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have the Davic, you have the Devas, and they are the beings, that we think of. They're not giants, but they are more so gods, like in Norse lore, you have the Aesir gods.
Yeah.
They would be more of the Devas. So, they're concerned with the higher ideals, with beauty and love, but as far as they're not exactly completely opposed to the idea of sex, though. It's rather their
No, you
their
can't be.
their conception of it is very different, meaning that you
Yeah.
don't need the actual physical intercourse. You don't need the erotic in order to make it happen. Instead, it is more of a blending of thoughts. Instead, a blending of the personalities, a blending of even ideas, philosophies. Things like this. That is what it means to mate and to produce offspring, and that is also uh, how a lot of devas produce offspring is just off of their own interactions, like even just thought interactions with another entity, whether it
So that
be
would be,
another deva or another human.
yeah, right. So this would be then the higher spiritual. The title of the video would be "Sex and Spiritual Higher Spiritual Significance." So that is the essence of it right there. That's the higher spiritual significance, is that, at least for us, there is the physical part as well. That'll always be there, and even in fact, like even a true lust would be truer with, say, love than would be with a purely animal kind of behavior, right? And
Yeah,
vice versa as well. You need a bit of both, kind of, as humans. Anyways, we're not
yeah.
Vedic gods or whatever, or Devic, I should say.
And that's where humans come in. The human is the balancer of these two extremes. So,
Right.
in order to really not just survive, though, but to really function well here on Midgard, you know, you've you've got to marry both the lower self and the higher self, and so you have to accept both parts. You have to accept your own lustful, powerful self, and also accept, your God. Your God, as in your super conscious, your your Superman self. You have to bring those two together instead of completely suppressing one or the other. Because to suppress, it doesn't make it go away. It still makes it, there, but it actually intensifies that. So, for instance, people who are, and this is why I I have a problem with celibacy. I don't agree that should be humanity's aim. In pursuit of some kind of higher spiritual uh, being, or some
Mm.
kind of higher spiritual existence.
Yeah.
That's not the ticket to that. The ticket to that is more of more on Nietzschean grounds, where you have to accept your lower, more Zurich, draconic self.
Yeah. You have to embrace it all, I think. Yeah, we were born in as people. We have to be people to the fullest, with goodness in our hearts, let's say. But to deny too much of what it is to be a living creature, I think, it leads to problems. I would agree with that for sure. It leads to, if you can, there are celibate people that choose to be celibate, or people that want it even, I guess. I've heard of such people. But to do it as a strictly religious thing for religious reasons, maybe it's, I don't, it's okay, I guess, if you really, but it seems, I agree with you about that.
I find that if it's something that somebody truly wants, that truly makes them happy, then that's one thing. But to feel like that one has to be celibate in order to fulfill their religious or spiritual image.
Yeah.
That's where it is wrong, I believe.
Yeah.
That's where it is going against one's own authentic ego, one's own authentic identity, their own self.
Yeah, you can't avoid a certain amount of ego, and you have to let the Thor side take over sometimes.
Yeah.
It has to be there.
Yeah.
Balance, harmony, and balance. I always return to those. Every video it seems to end me advocating for harmony and balance. Plato and Aristotle as the key to everything. But so that's good. You've definitely described what you were talking about, and it does make sense now. Thank you. And I believe you even followed it up. You followed it up when I was talking to you with something about aliens, but we'll save that for another one. Which I thought was even related to this and was even more like what I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure here through everything, and
so that and for people that when they read the title and think it's going to be all about sex and they're hearing stories about gnomes and things, that's I'm sure they got something out of it anyways. That's what it's all about.
And also too, if others might have questions, I'm also very open to answering them.
Yeah, and you want to we both have books for sale. Everyone knows, who's following my account knows my books. You have books. You have one book for sale and one book you're working on. There it is.
And it is available on paperback and on Kindle, on Amazon, and I have that posted on my Telegram. It's my pinned post that I have on there, and it's also on my website. So do check that out. And I am also in the process of writing. This is my brother back there yelling. I am in the process of writing a novel, a sci-fi novel called Moonstone, and I have just recently posted an excerpt from that on Telegram. It's also available on my website.
Right.
Okay. And you follow me on Telegram and Twitter.
Okay, that sounds good. And I'll end there with a nice picture of Jan Michael Thor for you again. Anger. And goodbye.